Hi, everybody. It's Monday, and that means it's time for Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. Well, we got a panel today. We've got Brian, we've got Tony the calf, and back after a period of, well, maybe a period is the wrong word to use. Stephanie A. Smith. So I guess the red flag is no longer out.
But I'm not even responding to that.
Well, it sure was lovely to have Ed flowing.
So the gang's all here, and we got some sports to talk about today. And boy, I wanted to start out the program with something that goes back 3 years. All right, and that's Josh Rosen. All right,
Rosenstein.
Yeah. Josh Rosen. I remember in the draft, where we picked up Baker Mayfield, and there were other quarterbacks. He was one of the ones.
Number 10.
Sam Darnold was. Everyone was deciding who they liked. It's kind of like it is every year, I suppose. But, Rosen himself really, before he ever picked up a football, he capsized himself by not exactly being the most popular teammate in the world, a little bit Jeff George-ish, but the comments that he made about football's not going to be the be all end all for me, and it's something I want to do, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, right? And that was really the gist, okay? And Josh Rosen, of course,
And he grew up playing. He did not grow up playing football like many of his competitors. He grew up playing a solitary sport of tennis, where he was a pretty good singles player as a junior, junior ranked tennis player.
Hi, Bronk. He gives Jews a bad name. Josh Rosen saying, so if I don't make it in football, I make what? $20 million when I get drafted, and then I turn out to be nothing much, and that's $20 million. Then I get started on whatever it is I'm gonna do, sell shoes, whatever it is. That's what I do. It's like he came from a well-off family, and he gave the impression that it didn't mean all that much to him. Now, fast forward to Trevor Lawrence, who I've had a bad feeling about for some time. I've expressed it on the program, but I think this guy's vastly overrated, and that they like the fact that he has kind of like hair like the Edge had when he was young. I honestly, they like his look. I'm watching him play during the course of the year, and I'm like not all that excited. All right, but this is what he said in the shadow 10 days away from the NFL draft. It's not like I need this for my life to be okay. I want to do it because I want to be the best I can be. I want to maximize my potential. Who wouldn't want to? You kind of waste it if you don't. So let me go over this. All right. It's not like I need this for my life to be okay. I mean, my life could be great without football. This is what he said to Sports Illustrated. I want to do it because I want to maximize my potential. Now, what, his economic potential? Sure, he's an instant, gratis multimillionaire. But, if I'm and far be it for me to side with the owners very often, but holy moly, I'm not gonna draft that guy. Let me tell you something. Football's a dangerous fucking game. All right? Really dangerous fucking game. And I mean, you go out on the field at any game, as Alex Smith, who retired today, and we'll talk about him in a little bit, will tell you, your next snap could be your last snap. You know, you can have injuries that will affect you for the rest of your life. You know, Stephanie A. Smith and I were watching an autopsy on Dale Earnhardt. And, you know, you got to be a crazy motherfucker to drive 180 miles an hour in a car around an oval track. You got to be a crazy motherfucker. You got to have no fear. The second you have fear, your career as a driver is over. You know, there's just some things that have to be the way they are. And now you don't necessarily have to have a chip on your shoulder like Baker Mayfield, but you've got to have drive. You've got to have ambition. And that ambition, I'm so tired of this, my potential, me. You know, you got guys who are 10 guys around you on the field and their backups, as well as the 11 defensively plus their backups, the special teams, the kickers, the punters, everybody around you. And they don't give a shit about that. They're playing in the fucking trenches, and a lot of them may never be multimillionaires. They're going to get hurt and fucked up just as much or as badly or worse than the quarterback is, for no fanfare whatsoever.
Well, let me just say this. I can see from an owner's perspective, they want someone to have that singular focus only on the game, but from a psychological perspective, isn't that a healthier way to be, to think, okay, well, this is what I do, but this is not who I am. I mean, if it's not football, then I can still have a meaningful life doing something else. Isn't that a healthier perspective? I mean, I see what you're saying, though, from an owner's perspective. I want that person to be focused on football. I want them to not be thinking about anything else other than football.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, let me put it this way. The draft is all about you determining at a young age that you're going to play football. And if you're already talking about, oh, I can do lots of other things besides football, you're in the wrong business. You're already accepting the fact, this gig may not work out. I'm going to take the easy multi-millions of dollars I'm going to get and just kind of move on. Whatever happens, happens. But in this game, you can't, I mean, you got Tom Brady still playing when he's 45. He's just coming off knee surgery. You've got guys who, you know, literally give their heart and their souls, guys like Alex Smith, to the game. And then you have this fresh-faced, long-haired punk who's talking about, well, you know, I can always move on to something else. And it's just another one of these, you know, what do they call them? Generation Z people, you know, with no fucking clue about what it is they're about to get into. And if you don't know what you're getting into, don't get into it. I will tell you something. My opportunity to own a radio station came to me, and there was no thought of what would happen if it didn't work out. There was never a thought. There was never a moment in my mind. I would have killed myself to make it work. It was an opportunity that was so great for me, I couldn't let it go by. I would look upon myself forever differently if I didn't do my ultimate best. That's the attitude you really need to do anything well. Sorry. You know, if you want to be a Renaissance man, you know, then be a trust fund child. Fuck you. You know, find something with meaning in your life. If you're interested in being a doctor, you can be at the local 24-hour clinic and just basically have no authority whatsoever. If you're in it to be a mediocre doctor, good for you. I don't want you as my doctor. I don't want you as my knee surgeon. Bronk doesn't want you as his back surgeon. We want people who really love what they do who go to all kinds of medical conferences to keep up with the most latest styles and techniques of surgery. We want the best. As fans, we want the best. When Baker Mayfield was the one pick, we wanted him to be the best. We didn't want the put it on hold Baker who says, well, geez, there's going to be other opportunities for me in the world. Let him do the goddamn progressive commercials. Let him be on TV all over the place. But look, that he works hard at his craft and that he really cares about winning and losing, that just oozes out of every pore of his body. Now, not everybody can be like Brett Favre and Baker Mayfield and just have this crazy, one-dimensional thing. But every quarterback who was good was competitive. I mean, Troy Aikman, who was a very different kind of quarterback, Terry Bradshaw, who was a different kind of quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger. Look, they all knew when the bell rang, it was time to come out and fight. This is no time to be talking about what ifs. And if his draft stock drops because of this, I'm all for it. Fuck Trevor Lawrence. Fuck him. This is a great opportunity in front of him. And if he doesn't feel big enough or strong enough to carry the load, get the fuck out of the draft. And the fucking Jaguars are sitting there going, yeah, we got to go through this again. That's going to be our quarterback. Yeah, things don't work out for the Jaguars. Things never work out for the Jaguars. Hello.
Not since Tom Coughlin was the coach.
Yeah, well, Tom Coughlin, well, I could go on about him for a while. He was a bit polarizing, but he at least demanded some things of people. Since then, it's been a lost cause in Jacksonville. And, God, if I were a Jacksonville fan and I read what he said, I'd be like, fuck that, man. Fuck that. I mean, what are we getting now? What are we, Blake Bortling all over again? What are we getting here? Guy who's going to be happy to rake in, if he could stay in the league long enough to even get a second deal, even if he's a backup quarterback. That's not what we need in Jacksonville. God damn it. We need somebody who's got fire. Ooh-ah. Somebody's got some pep in his step. I love Baker Mayfield because he came to Cleveland knowing damn well how hard it was going to be, and he still had no idea that he had to go through Huey Jackson and the idiot in the manufactured home, that he had to go through a third head coach before they found a scheme that would even work for him, before they even had players surrounding him who were worth a goddamn, before he had an offensive line. This Trevor Lawrence isn't going to walk in to, they wanted Gardner Minshew to walk in and suddenly turn the Jaguars into something special. It doesn't work that way when you got shitty players around you. And most first-year quarterbacks really get railed, man. Joe Burrow got his ACL repaired. I spent the last couple days watching the two games from 2020, the Browns, the Bengals, that were really close football games, man. The Browns, the second one, you remember, they had to pull the game out with 16 seconds left of the game. That was, Donovan Peoples-Jones' remarkable touchdown catch. And before that, the remarkable catch by Rashard Higgins. And it took Baker, I think, what did he do? Complete 20 passes in a row in order to get that shit done.
Yeah, his one incompletion was the spiking of the football to stop the clock.
That's right. I mean, but those games were close, and the world, and the thing that was so funny was the NFL Network was re-showing these two games as part of the Joe Burrow showcase, and which is wonderful because I think Burrow's a wonderful young quarterback, and watching it a second time and seeing what he was playing through. I mean, AJ Green might as well be like, I could get open down here. I mean, that guy's like a fucking fossil. I mean, who's he throwing to? Boyd, who's a nice receiver, but nobody's going to mistake him for the big game breaker. Then they have Sample, the tight end, who's like kind of like a moving van.
Who's that? No, the kid that they got from Tennessee, number 15. He's actually very good.
No, I thought T. Higgins has some possibilities, but
he was killing the secondary in those 2 games.
Well, yeah, what we watched was the Browns just because they had no secondary, and the Bengals because they had no running game. Mixon was injured, and they had no front, no offensive line. They couldn't get a run game going, and it was the Browns' running game that in both, especially the first game, that just they gave up Cincinnati gave up 215 rushing yards to the Browns. So you're going to go to the Jaguars, and it can't be just you. And if you're looking at this as, if it doesn't go great right off the bat, I can always do this because, whatever.
Because I get paid for doing this. Thank you, Steve Martin.
And then this notion that, it's going to be much easier for Trevor Lawrence. I was reading an article, which was just the dumbest fucking article that I think I've read. It's like why Trevor Lawrence is in a better situation than Baker Mayfield was in the 2018 draft. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? And you know what the reason that people are giving for that point of view?
What?
I'm going to read
the head coach.
Yeah. Yep. I think it's a better situation for Trevor Lawrence, said Tannenbaum. Oh, Tannenbaum. Oh, Tannenbaum. You've got a great offensive mind in Urban Meyer. They got a young, dynamic player in Laviska Shenault. And defensively, they got a couple of pressure players in the front 7 like Josh Allen. This is a team that could turn around much quicker than in Cleveland at the time. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to a good situation. Let me tell you.
But in 2018, that's when they in 2018 is when they drafted Nick Chubb.
Yeah, I mean, look, I guess the way I look at it is you don't have a running back there. You don't have an offensive line there. Having one wide receiver doesn't mean a goddamn thing. Ask OBJ about that. They'll just double you all over the field and they'll grab you. And if you're a young guy, you're not going to get the calls. Is he in a better place? I mean, look at what Baker had to put up with. Baker starts out on the bench because Huey didn't know shit about who was playing and why. Then he gets a chance to play, and it's hell to pay. And then by the time he does get a chance to play, basically Huey is out of there, and then we get Bubba. And Bubba fucks everything up completely and disappears into the background. And this really was the first year that Baker Mayfield was playing football. He was trying to survive the first 2 years. And look, you'd be disinterested too after playing for a year of Huey Jackson, then finding out that they just gave the job to Freddie Kitchens, who never called plays before the year before.
What the media is considering for articles these days? That whole article is like saying, "Oh, my piece of shit smells more than your piece of shit." Like, what the fuck? Like, come on here. Think more critically when discussing starts.
I mean, it's hard for every young quarterback because anyone who gets drafted number 1 is getting picked by the worst team in football.
Not everybody's like Aaron Rodgers can get drafted and sit behind Brett Favre for 2 years and then
5 years. 5 years.
11-5 right away. It's not gonna.
Aaron Rodgers was 5 years behind Brett Favre. And
Hey, and they had to ship Favre off to the fucking Jets to let the kid play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Derek was in here. He said his knee's hurting him, huh?
Yeah. He's too young to have a bad knee.
Yeah, I know.
Up his knee pretty badly. And he's in a lot of pain.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what
Where do
happened.
you see Fish Basket?
I fucked my knee up bad, in a lot of pain, constantly icing and such. I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. Yeah, you can still come on the air, and we will feel your pain.
You can just scream every now and then. If you need to scream, you just go ahead and scream.
Like you?
I agree.
Is your knee hurt?
You just got to let it out. When you're in pain, you just got to let it out sometimes.
What about gas?
That too. Better out than in.
What Shrek says.
Better out than in, I always say.
Out through the indoor. Right, Stephanie? All right.
That's right.
Boy, Stephanie almost smiled.
You're not supposed to make me laugh.
Just remember the KY.
Just remember, this is not rehearsed. There's nothing rehearsed about this program. That's what makes it so bad. And then Amsterdam, this is we're not.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that.
Jesus.
Gary.
The kid's like 20, for fuck's sake.
I
Come
know.
on.
Leave him alone, and he's not the one in his family who needs the knee pad. So come on.
Oh boy. Speaking of 2018 insults.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence a lot like I'm looking at Josh Rosen, and it's like, man, you're going to a tough situation. It's going to take years. I mean, Aikman was 1-15. Do you remember? Before they got him Michael Irvin and they gave him weapons, right? And Terry Bradshaw was like the same. He was like, that was before the 16 game schedule. He was like, I want to say 1-13 or something like that in his first year with the Steelers. I mean, and they were a bad football team.
How bad were they?
Oh God, they were the dregs. They were the dregs in those days before they turned it around. And that's what's so funny about Pittsburgh fans who act like their shit doesn't stink. Believe me, I remember when they couldn't win to save their souls. And every time they start, getting uppity, I just want to keep telling them about Bubby fucking Brister. Look, and Mark Malone. Yeah, when you don't have a quarterback,
The early days of Neil O'Donnell.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter without a quarterback. So these guys are going to be the guys who get drafted high like this. Baker knew that he was going to get into a difficult situation. I don't think that he understood that it was going to be in the middle of a warring factor between like a front office and a head coach and then a guy who didn't deserve the job. But one thing that I'll say about Baker Mayfield, he can be belligerent. He can sometimes speak his mind, maybe to a fault, but he has adapted to the changes around him. And as the season progressed, I mean, that was the one thing I wanted to watch. Week 7, you could see, and in week 7, Baker was still suffering from that cracked rib. And now he threw that interception. The first throw that he threw down the field was way underthrown, and OBJ wasn't even looking for it. And, but as the game progressed, man, he got better and better because you could see him growing in the system. And the thing I really liked about it, and watching as the season progresses, when you watch this past season over again, is how Stefanski adjusts the play calling to the degree that complements the quarterback. So instead of, in the beginning of the year, it was like, if you remember, we were all up and down and we were forcing him to stay in the pocket all the time and, taking him out of the gun. And, that things started becoming more balanced in that regard. And the play selection started really, when they did move him out of the pocket, that it gave him clear designed plays where he knew where he was supposed to go, and not to improvise on these things, which was all Freddie Kitchens was improvisation, because there was no coaching, God only knows. But, it's rewarding to have a quarterback who proves that he can play in multiple systems, win some football games, and it makes you feel better that the guy who's going to be your head coach for a good long while, and he's developed and are reading from the same sheet of music. That's huge. So
Is that Stephen Delaware cooking again, or what is that noise going on?
I don't know what that is. Probably Tony.
Oh,
Yeah, it
there we
is.
go.
Yeah, it is. It was Tony the calf. I think that I think he's masturbating with cookware. I don't know why.
Fucking tinfoil.
I have no idea.
No, it's the cat. The cat is, those little kicker toys that kittens fuck around with.
Oh,
Yeah,
when-
she's attacking one right now. So,
And a lot of people have actually. It's bad when they're asking me questions. When they're writing to me and asking me questions,
Wow.
like
What's
why
he
did the
got?
Browns release Sheldon Richardson? I got people saying, "Are we going to sign Sheldon Richardson back?" And what I'll tell you is this: Sheldon Richardson was making a good chunk of change, and he should be playing somewhere. To be very honest with you, if a low ball offer came in from the Browns to retain his services, I don't know. I think with hurt feelings, it might be really difficult to tell a guy, you just went out and got you. What are you doing? Fucking Gene
Yeah,
Krupa?
can you mute him or something? It's
Yeah,
like fill my ears.
yeah. When you want to come back, Tony, I don't feel like, it was like the monkey with the cymbals, Jesus Christ.
I remember that from Captain and Tennille.
I remember that from Poltergeist.
Yeah, I didn't think anybody remembered Captain and Tennille.
Oh, love will keep us together, Moo. Come on.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a rudderless ship if that was the captain.
Wow. He's quite talented, the captain.
Yeah. Do you know his real name?
Oh, God.
God.
They just had it for his obituary. He just died in
Yeah, he died
Prescott.
recently.
Just recently?
Yeah.
A year or so ago, I think.
Oh, really? Yeah. His name was Daryl Dragon.
Drago, yeah, Drago. That was the guy in Rocky.
Yeah.
I
So
will break you, Tennille.
at any rate, I guess for me, what it comes down to is the release of Sheldon Richardson is a business thing. And, you say, well, you understand, we just basically got Jadeveon Clowney for the same kind of money that we would have been willing to pay somebody lesser. And gives us more of what we want. There's going to be hurt feelings on Sheldon Richardson's and his agent's part. They'll sign anywhere they can, not in Cleveland. But if it's I can't imagine it's the end of Sheldon Richardson's career because he did not play badly last year.
He played all 16 games. Who else played all 16 games last year?
And he had 4.5 sacks. It wasn't that he was prolific, but he did a nice job. And I'd love to have Sheldon.
He helped win that. He helped seal that game against Tennessee.
Yeah. I mean, I really like the guy, and I think the Browns did too, but not at the price. I think when you're going after something and you have an idea of what you need to do to improve your defense.
Well, and they have to have $9 million for the rookie pool. So that's a league thing. And saving that $12 million from his salary is going to guarantee that they have enough money.
That's right.
So they go from $11 million to $23 million under the cap.
It's a long shot that Sheldon Richardson would be back with the Cleveland Browns, but you wonder who's going to make him an offer and how much money that's going to cost Sheldon Richardson, because everybody's in the same boat. Nobody wants to start putting money into a guy 29, 30 years old. Yeah.
They'll probably end up on the Texans because that's where all the old Browns go to die. They go to Houston. So,
Cleveland Browns South.
Yeah, send them to Houston.
Speaking of Houston,
yes,
Mr. Moohead, have you ever thought about how big a brontosaurus dick is? And a follow-up is, how much Vaseline would it take to fit one of those up your ass.
Wow.
Well,
There's your blobfish question.
no,
of the day.
we're out of time, Stephen. We're really out of time. No, I haven't watched his show since the one time it's I don't know. It's like
That was the Sunday leading question.
the eroding man on cam.
And happy birthday, Key.
Oh, it's Key's birthday?
Tomorrow, but yes.
Oh, how old is she? How old are you, Key?
17.
17, asshole. No.
They grew them young there, Brian.
No, I let a woman tell me how old she is. I don't guess. I've learned that a long time ago.
You could try the old Steven question of, do you think fucking cats? I'm gonna mute myself. Do you think what was it? Dracula being a vampire and how they could suck blood. How well do you think they could do sucking dick? Was the
Well, thank you for that possible conversation. So Key basically is not having any of it. She's not giving her age. So now Brian, you're what, about 48?
Yes.
Okay. All right. At least that's what the story is. All right. All right. So I'm trying to figure out. So
December 4th, 1972.
Key is
2:38 in the morning.
He is younger than you are. I know that.
Yes.
Yeah, and the reason I know that is that Stephen would never go after somebody who was 48. Well, maybe he would.
Well, you got to remember, Brittany was 35 when they were coming around.
I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna be nice. Yeah, and D Cup Juice tells it the way I feel. Sheldon Richardson was a workhorse and a team leader. And I think he was a good guy. And sometimes, you hope that a guy gets a fair shake someplace else. And it's not that it wasn't a fair shake in Cleveland. It's just that only 2 years. I know he wanted it to be a longer stay in Cleveland. And, the guys who help you get to a certain point, you kind of like for them to be there when you get there.
Well, if it was the normal salary cap instead of the COVID salary cap, maybe he would have been restructured for $8 million or something. And it stayed. It's just a crazy year, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's.
Well, and this year especially with the reduced salary cap.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's why what's his name isn't going to get that much of a money deal. Or that long of a term. So, Clowney.
Yeah, I mean, the market ain't good. You got a job, you're ahead of the game. I hope Sheldon Richardson gets a job. He deserves to get a job somewhere. He's a good football player. The other thing was the Alex Smith retirement, and good for him. Yeah, that's right. Good. He went out on a high note, didn't he? With a classless organization. Who was thankless in the end. He actually suggested that he had a football opportunity that he could have gone after, but he wanted to spend time with his family. And I think he's done the right thing. He recovered from an almost impossible injury to recover from to prove that he could win 5 of 6 games at the highest level of his sport. And with a team that wasn't very good. And I think that's a magical ending for him. And all the Josh Rosens and Trevor Lawrences should look at him and kneel down before the golden calf, because he is to be worshipped for doing what he did, because he didn't have to come back at all. Financially, he didn't have to. But that tenacity is what I'm talking about that's missing in somebody who's talking about, I either make it or I don't make it. I mean, Alex Smith had to come back. On his terms, he had to do it. He couldn't let that one horrible play be the lasting final image of his football career. And he was determined to get there, and by God, he got there. So what more can you ask from a football player?
Yeah, Joe Theismann never got that got that opportunity.
That's right, and it's probably because
And I don't think Tim Krumrie ever did either. The
Well,
defensive
back
tackle
then,
for the
Bengals.
Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, again, medicine has come a ways, so they can do certain things now that they couldn't do back then. But I feel good for the guy because he knows when to stop. I mean, it's like, wouldn't it have been wonderful if Muhammad Ali had stopped after George Foreman? I mean, wouldn't it be wonderful if, people unfortunately don't realize the moment that's at hand and what trouble they could be putting themselves into by continuing. And kudos to Alex Smith. Not only is he a good field general, he's a good life general for himself.
And it took Brett Favre getting the shit beat out of him by a Greg defense in New Orleans to finally tell him, no, now is enough.
Was that Topaz over there, Stephanie?
He came a snouting. I think a puppy wants a walk.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why he's behind schedule, but it appears he is.
I thought I saw him there. Doggy he was behind me, and the next thing I see is he walking up behind you. Yeah, so nothing but positive things to say about Alex Smith, and I hope whatever he moves on to next is a significant part of his life, because that's really important. Again, the world of sports is, affected by more mass gun shootings in America. I'm not going to get political with this, but a North Texas football signee was among the 3 people shot in Austin, Texas. And, the whole thing is a terrible thing.
Demand is a terrible thing, and we must stop this thing.
To me, there isn't anything good that I can say about Stephen Broderick, what he did. He former deputy with the Travis County Sheriff's Office in Austin, Texas, and you go out and you kill people, and he knew every one of the people he killed, of course, and standing in the wrong place at the wrong time. But there's a young man who's never going to get to realize his future at all, and it bothers me.
But as I told you after one of the incidents, that it was the second one, that it was really these are gonna increase in volume. Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, that's exactly what's happening. So, and now a warrant has been issued for Seahawks defensive end Aldon Smith, who, again, these players who have really checkered pasts, and I don't mean checkered pasts like, Josh Gordon with drugs and that sort of thing, but I mean violence. People, the word is that Aldon Smith choked a victim until they were unconscious during a confrontation that began in a coffee house in Chalmette, Louisiana. And nobody knows where he is now, so they have a warrant out for him. But the thing that's more troublesome, he rose to stardom, Aldon Smith, with 33 and a half sacks in his first 2 NFL seasons with the 49ers. With that total going up to 42 after 3 seasons. And he was the 7th overall pick in the 2011 draft. However, in 2013, he was arrested for suspicion of DUI after crashing his truck into a tree in a residential neighborhood in San Jose. Then in 2014, the NFL suspended him for 9 games for violating the league's personal conduct and substance abuse policies. In 2015, he was released by the Niners the day after he was arrested on a hit-and-run DUI and vandalism charge. He signed with the Raiders a month later, but was suspended for a year for violating the league's substance abuse policy. Then he was
at that same time, wasn't the middle linebacker also arrested for domestic violence or something and released?
Yeah, I mean,
there were two 49 primary 49er defenders that were arrested or released because of criminal activity at the same time.
In his personal game of Can You Top This, Aldon Smith was released then by the Raiders in 2018 after he was arrested on multiple charges, including domestic violence, assault, and false imprisonment. He pleaded no contest to a pair of misdemeanor charges to settle the domestic violence case from earlier that year, but he was reinstated and started all 16 games for the Cowboys after signing a one-year, $4 million contract. And he had 5 sacks. The thing is that he literally had just been signed to play, and this is how he celebrated 2 days later by going out and doing this shit. And for the life of me, I don't understand. I mean, why this permissiveness? Do we need a sack master that bad that we bring a guy in who has just a violent past? And now he's choking people unconscious. I want to see that motherfucker in jail. That's where I want to see him, not on TV.
Well, and in that same vein, Aaron Donald was arrested for assault and battery, knocking a guy clean the hell out. And actually, I think he put him in the hospital.
Now, believe me, Amsterdam, it doesn't matter how drunk Johnny Damon and his wife would get, he couldn't hit her.
Not by the time he got to the Indians, anyway.
Yeah.
That swing went way out.
Yeah, it's talking about slowing down. That was a rare case. Now, in another thing, the Cleveland Indians are going to ramp up capacity at Progressive Field to 40% in the month of May, just in time for that big surge. The state, just one state above them that they all hate, Michigan, is now the new national leader in the variant. Congratulations, Michigan.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that like 18,000 people want to go see the Indians play?
No, they just want to drink a $5 beer.
That would appear they just want to get out and do something.
$5? Are you on crack? They're like $15 nowadays.
Yeah, 14.
No. At the old Jacobs, whatever they're calling Jacobs Field now, it's Jacobs Field to me, at least for this season. They have the lowest beer price in the country at $5.
Really? That was it. Is that Target?
Well, in order to sit and watch 9 innings of that, I mean, it's
you
kind
need
of like
the $5 beers to get through a game.
It's like, remember the Miller Lite thing, all the great taste without the calories, Well, Josh Naylor is
oh my God.
He's Bill Buckner without the talent.
Great choice, less filling.
There's no center fielder. They are like they run out anybody to center field. It's just amazing.
They run him out to first base. He never played first base in his life. Josh Naylor's an outfielder. I don't understand it. They always do this. And who he was in for Yu Chang, who had never played first base before, 2 games before that. I mean, how could you not have corner infielders? It doesn't make any sense to me. And that was the same ground ball that went through Buckner's legs, I swear to God. It was the same fucking play. And you know what the problem is? If Naylor would just lose the 25 fucking pounds like he's supposed to, then maybe he could bend down and pick up the goddamn ground ball instead of splitting his pants trying to do it. This is inexcusable. It's unprofessional. And the organization should be chided for putting people on the field. It's like, we're going to stick with Ahmed Rosario in center field, and you're going to pay the price. Do you know what else they did? Everything that was going to happen to the Indians, you knew they were going to lose that game that they ended up losing in a ridiculous way, because they put Reyes in the right field too as a defensive replacement. Now, Reyes is your designated hitter. The guy can't play right field. He makes Charlie Spikes, look like Willie Mays. I mean,
Daddy Wags, man. Wags. And, oh, man.
than Larry Brown. And a cloud of smoke. And Reyes was the one who threw the ball in from right field that by the grace of God was nowhere near where it was supposed to be to his cutoff man. And for some reason, Joey Votto at 37 believed he could run, which was really strange, and got gunned down at the plate. But it was just a matter of time, the very next inning, that the Indians would find a way to lose the game by inserting, a guy who's not disciplined enough to come to camp in shape any year he's played in the major leagues, and a guy who can hit 275, Josh Naylor. He can, but he doesn't care enough about his professionalism to get himself into proper shape. And he gave a zero effort at first base. So, no, you're going to get 14,000 people into Progressive Field to watch this shit and to run the risk of getting the variant. You got to be fucking crazy. You got to be fucking nuts. Oh, yeah.
Watching it on TV now.
You know, the guy handled the hot dog. Yeah, he had the B117, variant. And, yeah. If you don't get sick from the COVID, you get sick watching the Tribe. It's and then poor Rick Manning. It's like,
well, man,
this guy only throws 2 pitches. They got to be waiting on one of them, but they're not. They don't even have a plan up there. These hitters, it's like there is literally, no plan. Is Von Berkeley still the hitting coach?
I think
Probably.
But why increase attendance now? I mean, it's like throwing your hands up in the air and saying, okay, COVID, you win. We're going to get it again, just bad we did last year. And I guarantee you we will. 40% of the country is not taking the vaccine.
Wow.
40% of America is not, I'll repeat again, not wanting or will or is refusing to take the vaccine. You want to know what the easiest thing in the world to do is? To get vaccinated. There's no fucking lines. It's not a walk-in. It's literally a walk-in like curbside picking up your food, There's no wait. You can just walk in and get your vaccine. Nobody's waiting. It's horrible down here.
Have you gotten yours yet, Mo?
I got my first shot, and I have my second one on May 13th. I got to wait for the second shot. And, yeah, it was – they were running this ridiculous lottery system that nobody could get into in the state. And, of course, DeSantis is a hero of the far right. I live here, and he's a bum. But the bottom line is this. When they had a system in place, the system was so complicated and ridiculous. And
on the upside, you don't live in New York where they could have jammed you in with a fucking nursing home with all the COVID patients.
Believe me, nothing is right about the way any of these states are being run. But why were they making us jump through hoops? And now, when they finally get the mass influx of vaccine, it turns out nobody wants it. I mean, you can walk right in. I mean, there's no line. There's no line at all.
It doesn't help that the media is promoting fear, like with the Johnson & Johnson thing. 6 people out of 7 million got blood clots, and now we're supposed to be ooga booga. Now, granted, I got the Johnson & Johnson last Sunday, and I was fucking lethargic for 2 days. Like, I could barely get out of bed. But,
that's not unusual.
I feel fine now.
It doesn't matter which network you watch, because I'm not watching either of them. But you go to CNN, you get one kind of fear. Then they're sitting there saying, well, 5,800 people who got the vaccine. This is what they're saying on Fox. 5,800 people have been reinfected with COVID, and it's like, yeah, but you realize that 30% of the country has been vaccinated, and you realize that that's 100 million people, and you're talking about 5,800 people. Go fuck yourself. These people, both sides are doing the same thing.
Do people realize that even though you get the flu vaccine, you're still going to get the flu?
They can't. Yeah, you say they can't be that stupid. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. I mean,
fear. Beer.
Oh, that's scary. Ooh.
Yeah, it's
Hey, Mark, did you see the story about Scottie Pippen's kid?
And he passed away.
33.
That's a terrible thing. That's a terrible thing. And who was it? The daughter who played basketball of another athlete, a professional.
Volleyball. She died here. Turns out it was a murder suicide.
Right. And whose daughter was that?
Al Toons,
Al Toons. That's right.
the famous Jet
Wide
and
receiver.
and famous Wisconsin wide receiver. Yeah.
The one who was really had to quit because he was prone to concussions. What a receiver he was, though. My goodness.
Yeah, he was ridiculous.
He had hands the size of his hands. He was remarkable. You know.
And his daughter was a star volleyball player at Michigan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Al Toon Jr. went to Wisconsin.
Yeah. So, and I was talking about on the last program, I want to clear something up about, do you want to go with a wide receiver possibly in the draft? And believe it or not, people do watch this who are in the Cleveland media, and I get my answers. Yeah, and I get my answers, and I like the answer. I don't know Andrew Gribble. I don't know him, but he's the senior staff writer over at clevelandbrowns.com. And that's something.
And for the Cleveland Browns, the team itself.
Yeah, and it's a good answer that he gives, and it was a pretty thorough one. But to make it short and quick, is that you look at what we have coming back: Landry and Beckham and Higgins and Hodge and Peoples-Jones. And JoJo Natson, who we'll see if he can do anything, because he is also somebody they can line up in the backfield, run end around, screen pass, kind of an open field. Eric Metcalf.
Yeah, Natson up the middle.
Yeah, evasive, but his leg snaps like a pretzel. But what are you going to get at 26? And the best they could come up with is a guy named Tony's going to know. Bateman, who played at Minnesota.
Yep, he's a pretty good wide receiver too.
Yeah, but he lined up in a number of different spots throughout his college career. He hauled in 60 passes for 1,219 yards. That's 20.3 yards per catch and 11 touchdowns. And in most mocks, he's a late first-round selection. He might be available, but I don't see going with Bateman in a situation like that when there's other things you need more than him. So, I mean, how do you know that Bateman's going to be any better than what you've got? The whole idea is for the first round pick, you need to get somebody who's better than what you currently have on your roster.
So we going to draft a kicker this year?
I think that they're smart enough to give him competition. I think that there will be the body to give him competition. And what will more or less happen is that person will probably be a stronger legged kicker who will do well enough in the preseason, but not enough, but maybe good enough to land a job if they cut him early, do a guy a favor, cut him early. That's what I see with a kicker. I see we're going to go through another year with Cody Parkey, and that does not thrill me. That does not thrill me at all. But that's the other thing I realized watching the two Browns games with the Bengals. It's like this game is not the same game that I've watched for years. I mean, 4th and 2 is nothing. 4th and 4 is nothing. You go for it. I mean, and you look at the way the pass patterns are designed. And they just chuck the ball out to the tight end who's running off a rub or a screen like a pick. And there's no way you're going to prevent that guy from getting 4 yards. I mean, unless you somehow sniffed through the rush of people who were part of that whole pick scenario, you're not going to cover it. And that's what was amazing watching Burrow. And you're getting an idea of, man, this guy's, with the knowledge, it's like, no wonder this guy got killed, man. No wonder his knee got ripped out. I mean, they have him back in the goddamn gun every single snap. And, I was
still 60 times a game. The law of averages says you're going to get hurt doing that.
Yeah, and there was no pass rush on Baker Mayfield either. None. And whatever Zach Taylor was doing defensively, I mean, they lost more close games. They showed a graphic on that second game that I think it was since 2018 that they, in games that were decided by 8 points or less, they were 1-11-1. Worst record in close games in the NFL. And it lived up to the hype, man. I mean, they took the lead. It looked for sure they were going to win the football game. And sure enough, they let the Browns go down the field in a minute. I mean, the Browns, I think, had 1:11 left of the game. And they scored with 11 seconds left on the clock. I mean, I get the feeling that Zach Taylor is going to be on a short leash too. And Joe Burrow might be learning an entire new offensive scheme, because what they had last year was, let's put Joe back there and let him scramble and run around and find the receiver. I think he did a fine job. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback. I really do, because he looked like he keeps his head up. The thing that I always said about guys like DeShone Kizer, I mean, I knew that he was a bow wow the second I laid eyes on him, because he would take his eyes. Your only salvation when you're out of the pocket is to keep your head up and find somebody. And if you can't find somebody, to throw the thing away. But it's amazing how many guys coming out of a college game are just so crushed by the speed of the game that they can't do that. Burrow really kept his head up, kept his eyes down the field. He made some nice visual plays on the field in both those football games. I think they have a really good young quarterback in Cincinnati. I really do. And I have nothing against Cincinnati, and it's not like Pittsburgh, who I want us to go out and crush next year twice. And the Ravens, I give respect to a team that does well. But I still think that Lamar Jackson is going to get hurt. I still think it's a matter of time. They keep putting him out in the same scheme, and eventually it's going to be the wrong angle, the wrong hit, the wrong time, the wrong place. Cleat gets stuck in the ground, knee goes out. I've seen it too many damn times. Not a single running quarterback has had a long career as a running quarterback in the NFL. It just doesn't happen. And don't talk to me about Fran Tarkenton scrambling. That was when they had slow guys chasing him, and a big guy was 265 pounds. Now we got 320-pound monsters who are running 4.7s and 4.8s. Forget about that.
That's back when you had like white guys in the locker room smoking cigars during halftime, drinking beers at the end of the game. I mean, that's a totally different era back then.
Yeah. And Key, enjoy your dinner, and let me know if you're going to have something special for your birthday. If were you going to tie yourself up in a bow, Brian? Maybe you could deliver yourself, to Canada.
No, I can't afford that. Sorry.
But but you might not be able to afford not to. I don't know. You could be looking at the eyes of fate, your future.
He's in Ontario. They can't even breathe.
Ooh, I love sushi.
Yeah, what part of Ontario?
Sushi for tomorrow.
Yeah,
home of the Oilers, Edmonton.
She's in Alberta, not
Alberta.
Yeah.
That's Alberta.
Yeah.
I thought she was in Toronto.
Okay, good.
No.
That's a good choice.
Good God, no.
Yeah. Do you like the horse
She would be in
ride?
Canada's most wanted if she was a conservative in fucking Toronto.
Yeah. Now, Key, do you like the horseradish on there? What do they call that?
Wasabi.
Wasabi.
Wasabi. It's actually
wasabi.
It's actually green, not white.
Yeah, it is green. Yeah,
It's
man,
green.
I remember one place that I went to that was a sushi place. They put it in there without my permission. Oh, I almost vomited. I cannot eat that.
Really? Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah,
No Amsterdam. No Amsterdam. He is every woman.
I'm every woman.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
Go.
Anything you want done, baby, I do it naturally. Whoa, whoa,
Yeah, biological
whoa.
no less, Ams. Unlike your fucking favorite targets, the traps. He's a trap master.
Well, I mean, so
Hey,
this.
balls or no balls, Amsterdam?
So the Cleveland Indians. Before I go, you know,
Well,
Shane
you know.
Bieber. You know, my God, 13 more strikeouts. What can you say about a guy who ends losing streaks for teams consistently? And he's a great pitcher. I mean, and you know, again, the game has changed so much. Here's a guy who throws a very controlled, maybe tops out occasionally at 94, but is around 93. But he's got a curve, he's got a slider, and he's got the fastball.
You were asking about the hitting coach? Or who the hitting coach is for the Indians? Ty Van Berkelio.
But he's still there. The guy's horrible.
And the assistant hitting coach is Victor Rodriguez.
I'm sure. I mean, you know, and I'm sorry to hear this. I go, Louis, oh.
Toga.
Yeah, that song got like a second life.
Which is funny because the song was actually released after the time period for the movie was actually supposed to be taking place, but
correct.
Whatever.
Right. That is interesting. It's one of those things that classic song. But at any rate, Shane Bieber is now a historical pitcher.
Not just a hysterical pitcher.
Right. But this guy, he can throw the ball through a teacup. His control is impeccable. It is kind of like watching.
Unfortunately, they're pitching him 8 innings in April. This is not going to be sustainable. So expect him to have a dead arm by early July.
Wants to go out, man. He's sniffing around.
But give him all the credit in the world. He's a fine pitcher, and it amazes me. It's like Kluber went away, never was the same, but now this guy steps right in. And I have the same feeling when Bieber's on the mound that I had when Kluber was on the mound. The guy, when he's on his game, he's just ahead of the hitters, and he just dips that slider out of the range, and he can paint the corners. He's like Greg Maddux. It isn't, and the way hitters hit today is all power and big arcing swings. And a guy like that, man, who has control and has multiple command of multiple pitches, dangerous shit. And I don't even know. The Indians, I don't know. Do they play today?
No,
they have day off like they do most every other day.
Cavs play tonight.
Oh, that's right. They're back home, aren't they?
No, they're in Detroit. That's the Pistons.
They might as well be home.
Hey, we're not Detroit.
Yeah. All right, everybody. That's it for today. It's time for my dinner. Thanks, everybody. Do you want to have any last words to say, Stephanie? I haven't commented on Stephanie's new look. This is, does this have a meaning?
I might try it.
Does this have a meaning? Is there a reason why you're shooting for this image now, Stephanie?
All this means is I'm getting back to the natural me.
Oh boy. Here it goes.
That's right.
Did I see that little head bobble thing? Is that the natural you?
That's in me.
righty then.
If she starts putting in neck rings, that's when you need to worry.
So everybody, enjoy your week. You have a good one coming. We got rain coming here for the next 3 days, so I'm going to be inside doing my stretching and in my swimming pool. It's going to be wet out there anyway. Wherever you are, stay safe. Be good. We'll be back again with you on Friday. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.